Bear down, Bears fans. Appreciate you guys for tuning in for another episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Got a lot to get into today. A lot of waiver claims. The Bears leading the NFL in waiver claims. So we got to break that down. As always, we're going to look at what the Chicago Bears have done with this roster and what they've changed about some of the players that were on this roster already, who's been cut, who sticks around, all that more in today's episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. If I don't get a bear down in the chat during the intro, you're hating on me. Let's go. Right at that moment. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago Bears daily on this channel. It's the only channel talking Bears, how Bears talk. So make sure that you get in tune with us, man. Appreciate you guys for showing so much love to the channel as always. Ran into somebody at what was we at? Walgreens today? I think Clay, I think his name was. Shout out to Clay, man. Ran into him, recognized me, must have been the glasses. And hit me, told me give him a shout out on the show. So shout out to you, Clay. Appreciate the love. Appreciate all the support from everybody that shows love to the channel, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page as always, man. We got a lot of Bears news to get into, man, so we're gonna jump right into it because y'all know I'm going live for the Sky game as well. Pull up for that also. But as of right now, we got to talk about these Bears, man, because the Bears lead the NFL in waiver claims. I mean, a lot of waiver claims today that essentially 10% of your roster that you just kept around on the 53 is gone. When you look at what Field Yates tweeted out earlier today, the Bears have claimed 6 players off waivers. Offensive lineman Alex Leatherwood, who is the most interesting by far, and we'll spend a little time breaking his game down. That's supposed to be defensive tackle Armon Watts from the Minnesota Vikings. He actually was a really nice player last year, so interesting that he ended up getting on waivers. Josh Blackwell, Kingsley Johnson, Sterling Weatherwood, and Trevin Wesco, a tight end out there. Surprisingly enough, though, they don't claim any wide receivers today. I feel like a lot of Bears fans were surprised by that today. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of what this team does here. And I think the interesting part, we got to start it off, right? The conversation around the Bears signing Alex Leatherwood. The biggest question here is this a good move? Let me know in the chat if you guys think this is a good move. Let me know in the comments below. Just drop a yes or a no. Give me some reasons why. Shout out to the chat as well. We got Andre Howard in the chat, Steve-O in the chat, Big Bear Dons. I am Skos in the chat, Big Bear Dons. What else? We got Don Burr in the chat. Don Burr, what's going on, man? I'm sure you're here for all the latest slander, man. Shout out to you for showing up as always. Twanny in the chat says, yo, what's good? Bear down, my dude. Shout out to you, my guy. So hey, let me know how you guys feel in the chat. Let me know. Here's my thing with it, right? When you're talking about a guy like Alex Leatherwood, terrible. For once, what Don Burr say? he said Alex Leatherwood more like patent leather. He's not wrong. This comment, at least at the moment, is not wrong. He was awful last season. Had 14 penalties. He had 8 sacks allowed. He looked completely outmatched the entire time. But the question that you do have to ask was, did Gruden and them boys put him in the wrong position? We all know Gruden is very bad at drafting. And when you look at what he brought to the table on with Alex Leatherwood, right? You look at a guy who essentially was a 2nd or 3rd round grade on most people's boards, and they took him in the 1st round, right? So I think you have to look at that and say, was he put in a bad position? Was he put in a position where he's going to fail no matter what, right? And you have to ask yourself, is there something that the Bears can do with Alex Leatherwood that you feel good about? Now, here's the thing at the end of the day. At a minimum, right, You don't feel like Alex Leatherwood has to come in here and be a starter for your offensive line. I think that's the biggest thing that you have to look at the beginning of this, right? Like, if he had to come in here and he had to be a starter, we all feel completely different about this. We all look at this and say, oh God, like, what are you doing? You're going to get Justin Fields killed. But in my opinion, right, you come into this thing now looking at it and saying, okay, maybe you're able to get a little bit of upside out of this guy. Maybe there is going to be a long shot feature to this with Alex Leatherwood, but he looked good in college. He looked like a guy who definitely had talent, but what was that talent going to breed on the field? And sometimes it just takes a different situation for that guy to take a step forward. And sometimes, honestly, it takes the guys around you looking better for you to look better. Now, I'm not saying that he looked like the guys around him were the ones at fault, right? I think it's pretty clear to say that he spent a lot of time on his back. But I think the thing for me is, as a depth move, as a move of, hey, this might work out in the future, low risk, high reward kind of move. I like the Chicago Bears bringing in Alex Leatherwood, and I feel like he's a guy that could possibly have some upside. I mean, he's a 23-year-old tackle, and I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is he a tackle? Is he a guard? There's going to be a lot of things for the Chicago Bears to figure out here with Alex Leatherwood. It doesn't just end by you getting him in here and you plug him in different positions. But your biggest question is there some potential in there that can be tapped into? Is there something he can live up to? Is there something that you can find that the Raiders couldn't find in him, which is why they let him go? Now, there's also the flip side of that, right? The flip side of that is the Bears were 7th on waivers, and you're looking at a guy who had to go through 6 other teams to finally get to you. That's something that is big. That's something that has to be said, right? Like, there's 6 other teams that looked at this guy and said, no, we don't need that. We don't want that. We don't need the headache. We don't want to deal with it, right? And that also plays a part into it. But I think at the end of the day, oh no, I knocked over my monster. I knocked over my energy drink. However will I live? I think at the end of the day, when you're looking at this, right, like I said, low risk, high reward. You feel good about the fact that if he comes in and he gives you something, great. He's only making, I believe, $5.9 million that the Bears have to pick up on a 3-year deal. The Bears do pick up the rest of his deal, but the Raiders have eaten most of the money on Alex Leatherwood. So I feel even better about that at the end of this, right? Because the Bears opened up money. They had about $18 million in cap space to work with, and now they don't even have to go all the way in and pay this guy his full amount of money to be here. You're basically losing nothing on that. And here's the thing. If it pans out, if it works out for you, right, this is what you're left with on your offensive line. Tevin Jenkins, who's 24, Larry Borum, who's 23, Braxton Jones, who's 23, Alex Leatherwood, who's 23. You've still got Doug Kramer, who's on IR basically this season, and he's 24. You got Jatire Carter, who's 23, right? Like, a lot of young pieces on this offensive line that you can also have grow. Keep knocking stuff over. This is why I need a desk, so that you can also have grow with this Bears team and with Justin Fields. And I think that's the only thing that you're looking at with this, right? Like, if there's any upside to this guy, let's go get him. If there isn't any upside to this guy, we don't lose anything. We're not hurting anything. The only thing that I don't like about getting Leatherwood off of waivers is we have to pay him even more just than we would have if we just signed him flat out, right? If he missed waivers. But if he doesn't miss waivers, I'm not tripping on it. I'm fine with it. We got him in here. He's a part of this team now. I think that at the end of the day, you have to look at this as a good move just based on bringing depth in, right? Even right now, if you do have him just coming in spots, here's the thing that I want people to understand. I've spent today, the reason why I'm doing these videos later and later is because I'm trying to do some research on these guys. I spent the day going back and looking at Leatherwood's tape. He is terrible in pass pro. My God, he was god awful in pass pro. But in the run blocking game, here, listen to what I said here. In the run blocking game, again, another thing that the Bears are doing to build up the system that they're planning to run this season. In the run blocking game, Alex Leatherwood was a pretty good player. And so for me, I think that's the thing that you bring him in here now. You try to develop him in the pass pro. You hope that you're able to get him in here and he's able to develop his game in pass pro. But at a minimum, you have a guy that can come in and be a part of this run blocking offensive line that's going to be run blocking for most of the year and step in and be pretty good at that. Oh, by the way, he's only 23. So for me, I look at the Bears again, going to find a guy who does what? What have I been saying this entire time? He fits the system. He fits what the Bears are trying to do. He fits what the Bears are trying to run this season. And that's the end of it. That's the bottom line for me. You can figure out what he's going to be on the other side of that, but at the end of the day, you want to see how he fits what the Bears can do this season, and I think that's the biggest thing that you're looking at. If he shows you nothing, you move on from him. Again, right? Talking about kind of where his contract is, and Ian Rappaport actually tweeted out earlier talking about the Bears inherit Alex Leatherwood's contract, which has 3 years left on it, $5.9 million left that is fully guaranteed. Plus, they have a right to the 5th year option. Las Vegas has already paid 58.9% of it. So again, Vegas paying most of that money on that deal. You feel good about that coming in and bringing a guy like that in. You're going young on your offensive line, and that's really what you want to see from your team. We've seen these guys bring in the 40-year-old, legitimate 40-year-olds. We've seen these guys bring in the older guys. We've seen these guys try to work out some of these veterans, and you want to keep that. But in the long run of this team's success, you have to have 5 guys that are able to play together for a long period of time. And that long period of time is going to be over the lifespan of hopefully Justin Fields being your quarterback and you having those guys stand in front of him, man. Let me see what you guys are saying in some of the comments, man. I appreciate you guys for showing love. If you haven't done so, hit that like button, subscribe to the page. Black Rain saying, yo, Pat, my sister-in-law is a huge Bucks fan. They wanted him if he cleared waivers. Hey, listen, he probably would have wanted to go there. Hopefully he can be coached up. Travis T saying he can be coached up. I think that that's something to definitely look at. Baki in the chat. Baki always showing love, man. What's going on with you, Baki? Also, Pat, he fits what GM polls and assistant GM Cunningham look for in an offensive lineman. That's something to be said for, talked about as well, right? They're trying to find guys that fit their scheme. They're probably looking at guys that they felt what they would have wanted in their system and would have done treated very differently. I don't think that this turns into a situation though where, you know, it's all sunshine and rainbows on the other side. We picked up a lot of low risk, high reward guys. Some of them aren't going to pan out. The hope is, though, that one of them does pan out and you do get that high reward. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the Bears are going to do with him. I do like that they're looking for certain things and they want to get those guys in there. But I don't know. Deja's saying, give him 2 years. We're going to look back at this as a steal. I hope so, right? At a minimum, here's the thing that I'm looking for from him this season. Come out and show me the run blocking that you showed me over in Vegas. He was good in the run block, moved his feet well in the run block. You know what I'm saying? Like those are the things that I'm looking at. Show me that you can do this specific job well. That's all I'm asking you to do this season. On the other side of that, if you develop into something, you develop into something. If you don't, again, looking at the money that Schefter was talking about there, they've already paid that 5th year option, 58.9% of it. Or the guaranteed money, I should say, 58.9% of it. So we're talking about getting this guy in here as a little bit of nothing. If he can just come out and be a dominant run block guy, I still might look at it as a steal in that situation, but I'm not pushing anything on him. And I'm excited about the get of him, man. If you guys are excited about getting him in the building and having him be a part of the Chicago Bears, man, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments below. Appreciate you guys for showing love, man. Let's talk about some of these other guys who are on the, who were in the Bears system that they brought in, right? Like, I mean, there's some other players on this team that I felt pretty good about the Bears bringing in. Now, I know a lot of people wanted to see the Bears go receiver, but the one thing listen, we talked about it yesterday, right? Bears were thin at that defensive tackle position, and they're still thin, right? Because it's not just about the guys the Bears brought in. Again, the Bears bring in 6 players off waivers: Alex Leatherwood, Armani Watts, Josh Blackwell, Kingsley Jonathan, Sterling Weatherford, Trevin Wesco. But here's the thing: for every player you bring in, you have to remove a player from your team. And so that's where you start to look at it and say, hey, like, okay, who doesn't make the cut? Who's that guy that you thought was going to be on this team that didn't make the cut? Let me know in the comments on that as well. But after looking at, some of the pieces that the Bears brought in and the Bears sent out, I didn't feel like we gained a ton. I feel like there's a lot of guys that you felt you didn't have upside with that you now feel you have more upside with instead of the players you had here, right? And it's really just the unknown. Again, the unknown can take you so far in this world. But looking at another tweet from Shefty, he says, after claiming 6 players on waivers today, the Bears waived guard Zach Thomas, defensive tackle Chris Tonga, which was a little bit of a surprise to me. I thought Tonga did a lot of things well. I thought Zach Thomas played well as well, but I thought Tonga did a lot of things well. I thought that he was a piece that you wanted to keep around on this team. He was a 7th round pick for the Bears, I believe, in 2019. But again, I think Tonga will end up on another team. I really feel like he's got talent, enough talent to be in this league. And then you go look at the fact that they got rid of Caleb Johnson, Duke Shelley as well. And then they terminated the contract of Joe Thomas, which, again, a spot where they were thin at. I was very surprised to see Joe Thomas get out of here. I didn't expect him to do great for us, but I didn't expect them to start to remove guys out of nowhere, right? And then Tajay Sharp, they put him on the injured reserve list, which really was a surprising move for me, because here's the thing about the Tajay Sharp thing. Tajay Sharp is an interesting move because you lose him for the season. Basically, if they put you on IR before 3 o'clock today, which is now past, you're out for the entire 2022 season. And I was a little bit surprised because I liked what I saw from Tajay Sharp. But is Tajay Sharp worth keeping around for an entire season? Like, he's done. Like, he's out of there. Like, I don't get that move. I guess that was one of the interesting ones. Maybe he's somebody that they believe you're going to keep around. The other thing that you have to look at as well on the injury side, they did place N'Keal Harry on IR after 3 o'clock, which means that N'Keal Harry will be allowed to come back after week 4, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Did that get done? Maybe they didn't, actually. Let me double check that. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. I thought I'd seen that N'Keal Harry got put on IR, but maybe I had just thought they were going to do that and they didn't actually do that. Is waiting until after 3 p.m. to place N'Keal Harry on IR. That will allow him. Okay, so he is on. So they did place him on IR. They wait until after 3 p.m. and that'll allow him to be able to come back after week 4. Here's the thing. Do I feel like there's going to be with the waivers that the Bears brought in that they're going to be dominating? Do I feel like with the waivers that the Bears brought in that we've got surefire answers on any of these guys? No, but the one thing that I will say is there are things about these players that instantly stand out for me. If I'm not outside of Alex Leatherwood, right? Armani Watts from the Vikings, I believe he had 7 sacks last season. Armon Watts from the Vikings was a guy that was able to get to the quarterback. Now, again, on a pretty good defense, but the difference here now is you saw Justin Jones in that Browns game, and hopefully he's able to continue that. But even Justin Jones, just as a run stopper, I like the fact that you're going to see a guy like Armon Watts standing next to him, especially knowing that there's 3 guys on this roster that are pretty good at getting to the quarterback already. Now I'm interested to see how he's going to add into that. I mean, I like the moves on those 2 fronts as well. I spent most of my time today reading or looking up on Alex Leatherwood. So just looking at his tape and stuff like that, there's a couple of more guys that I do have to watch the tape on. But again, depth moves, right? We had 2 tight ends. We went out and we got Trevin Wesco. That's kind of what I feel about that, right? Like, I'm not losing my mind. Stephen Weatherford. I think Stephen Weatherford's an interesting guy. I think he's a guy that you bring in, and I like his depth at that linebacker position. But again, you were so thin there already. Is he going to be able to change that? Ski Dog saying 6 sacks last season. I thought it was 7, but maybe it was 6. I'll go with you on that. So I think that that's something to look at as well. Just bringing in Weatherford, nice player, nice game, right? And I think, how does he add into what you already have? Adding a little bit of experience. And I think that's the one thing that you got to look at with a lot of these guys, right? Experience. Coming in, already playing the game. The Bears are trying to build this thing up on the line, and that's where it gets me excited. They're not looking at a lot of those outside weapons, right? I know people are saying, oh my goodness, we've got to go get a wide out. We've got to go get a wide receiver. We've got to go get this guy. Again, look at what the Bears are trying to build. Right now, this year, they're looking to bring one guy to do one job. And if they get a bunch of guys that are able to do that job good enough, they hope to win some games on that. That's the thing for me. So looking at some of these guys, again, I like the names that they brought in. I don't think that any of these guys blow you off the charts. I don't think that you lose your mind on any of these names that the Bears brought in, but you feel like at a minimum, your front office is moving in the right direction. Like, they understand the needs of this team. Like, they understand, okay, yeah, we like this name, but is there something that we can see bigger here? Hey, we got to figure out how to build this thing in the trenches. We need more help on the defensive side of the ball. Hey, I like Chris Tonga. I thought Chris Tonga was going to be a nice piece for the Bears. I didn't think he was going to be over the top. They go out and they find a guy that was able to get 6 sacks last season. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something to be said. That's something for me to be said. We need improvement on this side. We need somebody that's going to show us a little bit more than we've already seen. Let's see the upside on this guy. Even with Alex Leatherwood, okay, let's go see the upside on this guy, right? What's the biggest difference that he can make to this team right now? Well, we're going to be running the football a heck of a lot. Okay, we're running the football a heck of a lot. What does he do well? Pretty good run blocker. Okay, that makes more sense now. You know what I'm saying? I think that's kind of what it looks like more so for me. And then getting guys in here on the ball that are experienced, right? Josh Blackwell, he was a guy, he's played in 37 career games. He's had 28 starts, 96 tackles, 20 pass breakups, right? He's the DB from the Eagles. Experience. He's been on the field. He knows what he's supposed to do. And they know that they're starting a lot of young guys in these positions, so you want that experience to back them up. That's the biggest thing. You want that experience to back them up. Kingsley Johnson came over from the Bills. Another guy, right? He's played in 56 career games. 101 tackles, 15 sacks, 21 and a half tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. Defensive end. Experience at these positions. Adding experience to the depth. That's what the Bears are looking to do here with a lot of these waiver wire moves. Again, I'm not losing my mind at any of them. None of them do I look at and I go, oh my God, I can't believe we got this guy. This is an absolute steal. But what I do look at it and say is, this is a good move for the now that also has possible upside for the future. I would rather be a part of an organization that is looking to make good moves for the now that are also good moves for the long term of the organization. Are they moves that have to pan out for them to work? Absolutely. 110%. 110%. But on the other side of that, okay, if it doesn't work, are we hurt? No. Do we still go into next offseason with the most money? Yes. Do we still go into next offseason with all our picks and possibly more picks? Yes. Do we take a step backwards? No. So then why not make these moves? Why not do these moves, right? And I like them. I do. I like them. Here's my thing at the end of the day. Ryan Poles is trying to build this thing up through the trenches. He understands where this thing is going to work most. The trenches are not flashy. The trenches are not exciting. The trenches are not the move that makes you go, ooh, look at that. They added this thing that's going to always be going into the end zone for touchdowns. They added this guy that's going to be scoring touchdowns. They added this big body receiver that's going to be catching passes from Justin Fields. He understands what it's going to take for Justin Fields to really be good. And here's the thing, right? This is the part that Bears fans, to me, might be overlooking. While there's a lot of us that may undervalue Justin Fields, I'm not one of them, but there's a lot of Bears fans that undervalue Justin Fields. Your front office might look at the talent that Justin Fields is and say, you know what? This is the kind of guy that changes wide receivers. This is the kind of guy that makes wide receiver names. This is the kind of player that if we keep him off his back, he can make plays that will turn no-name guys into guys who suddenly have a name around this NFL. And for that reason alone, I like what they're doing in this front office. And they don't care what we think. They don't care what the fans think. They don't care what the fans are saying. What are the fans saying? Go get an offensive line. Or most of the fans, go get a wide receiver. You need a wide receiver. Oh, that's nice. Let me get 2 defensive players. Let me get an O-lineman, throw a receiver in there too for these guys. And then let me get a couple of linebackers. They have a plan and they're sticking to that plan. Now, whether that plan works or not, we'll see in 3-4 years' time. But they have a plan and they're sticking to that plan. And for me, I think that's the biggest thing out of everything. Let me check out some of you guys' comments. Shout out to you guys in the comments as well. If you haven't done so, hit that like button, subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel talk Chicago sports, how Chicago talks. Shout out Broski Bear, man. Broski Bear always showing support to the channel. Says Justin Fields needs more than 3 healthy wide receivers. He needs more than Mooney, Equinemius, St. Brown, and Pettis. Now, that's a fact, right? You've got a lot of wide receivers missing off of this roster that was supposed to be there. Velus Jones was supposed to be there. You drafted him. He hasn't been there as well, right? Tajay Sharp is going on the IR. N'Keal Harry is basically going to be out until week 4 on that, right? But here's the thing at the end of the day. I agree with you. He does need more than 3 healthy wide receivers. But not right now. Because again, what are the Bears running? In a run-heavy style scheme, you need 2 guys to be really, really good. I'm talking about outside of your running backs, and you've got good running backs. You need 2 guys to be really, really good. You need a really good wide receiver. You need a really good tight end. You need a really good wide receiver, and you need a really good tight end. Now, I feel like they have the really good wide receiver in Darnell Mooney. I feel like he's a guy that is going to surprise the world. I told you guys, I feel like Darnell Mooney is going to have a huge year. But on the flip side of that, you need Cole Kmet to step up. You need Cole Kmet to have a bigger year. You need Cole Kmet to figure out what's going on in his game and continue what you saw in the preseason. But let's not get it twisted. Don't think what you saw in that Browns game is what you're going to see every week of the season. I told y'all, run heavy offense is what? 20 to 25 passes. How many of those passes in that Browns game started at 5 yards in front of the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage? Short passes, screen passes, bubble passes. That's what you're going to be running. The amount of passes you saw in that game is close to the amount of passes Justin will throw in an entire game this season. You're not going to see Justin Fields drop back 30 times. You're not going to see Justin Fields dropping back 30 times. That's the biggest difference in what this season is going to be. They're playing to the personnel that they have. Because guess what? You're right, Broski Bear. They do need more than 3 healthy receivers, but they don't have it. They do need more than 3 wide receivers, but they don't have it. So how do you transition off of that? At a minimum, what we've seen in the preseason is they're going to use what simply works. They're going to use what at a minimum, hey, this is going to get this done. This is going to keep the chains moving. This is going to keep us moving forward. Let's try this. When all else breaks down, we want to see Justin get the ball to Mooney, Equinemius, whatever it is. On the flip side of that, when all else breaks down, oh, Justin, use your legs. But you're going to see that 20 to 25 times a game. He will not be dropping back unless you're getting killed, right? If you're getting blown out in the game, I think that's different, right? He might pass a lot in the Bills game because I expect us to be down a lot. But for the team you're building right now, for the team that you're putting on the field right now, for the scheme that you're running, even with the names they picked up today, they're telling you that they're going to do what they've told us they're going to do. That's the biggest difference. Matt Nagy would say he would do something and then wouldn't do it. They're telling us they're going to do the scheme, and they're building and bringing in players for the scheme that they've said that they're going to do. I think that's the part for me that gets me really, really surprised or excited by what these guys are doing. Shout out to Rico. He says Mooney and Kmet need to have monster years because it's set up for them to play huge roles. I agree. 100%. 100%. You know what I'm saying? I think that they're the 2 pieces that you need to see step up the most. They're the 2 pieces that you need to see take a step the soonest. What else we got in the comments, man? Shout out to you guys for dropping in the comments as always, man. Here we go. T. Jackson saying, what if instead of wide receiver, they start using the tight end a lot more? He could get a lot of targets. I think that could be something that you could see this season. I think that's why they wanted Cole Kmet going to all those camps. That's why they wanted to see what Cole Kmet was going to be. That's why they were fine letting a lot of tight ends go. I mean, you see them bringing in Trevon Wesco. That's not a end of the world signing right there. That's not a dominant signing. That's not a challenging Cole Kmet for this starting spot signing. That's a nice move. Yeah, I mean, like that's okay, nice move. Appreciate it. Broski Bear coming through with the super chat. Shout out to you, Broski Bear. Said, I respect the moves Post has made. It's a solid foundation to build on, bear down. I think that's the biggest thing, right? And that's the part that you have to look at if you're really paying attention. And great comment here from Broski Bear. If the Bears are going to get guys next season, if the Bears are going to get guys to want to come to Chicago next season, you have to start with a foundation. If the Bears are going to get guys to come to Chicago next season, you have to start with a foundation of something that at least looks like, hey, these guys not only know what they're doing, but also are making the right calls on the field, but also have some players that can make these plays work. If you add me into that, these plays work better. That's the biggest thing that the Chicago Bears need to do that we have not seen the Chicago Bears do on a consistent basis. And that's what gets me excited. Building the foundation to get people excited to come to Chicago. You didn't have anybody excited to come join this offense. The dudes you had that were excited to come join this offense were dudes that were cut or you ended up not using. Who was the receiver we brought in last year that was just, he's like the fastest, he's like an Olympic track star basically. And we used him for kickoffs, and one time he didn't do what Nagy said, and then he got cut the next week. What was Buddy name that we had last season? I've literally forgotten him. He was gone by like week 6. Got to crack that mug open, you know what I'm saying? You've got a lot to play with next season. But you have to build that foundation. G Station saying, Pat, $100 million next year. Well, $100 million next year will help a lot. I'm hoping for Nelson from Indy. We'll see on that one, right? Marquise Goodwin. That's exactly who it was. No, it wasn't Goodwin. Ted Ginn. That's who we brought in. Ted Ginn Jr. That's exactly who it was. AC Adams. Shout out to you. Or was it Goodwin? Maybe it was. Maybe it was Goodwin. I don't know. I don't remember. Either one. They both were, man. And they both were gone midway through the years. I thought it was Ted Ginn, though. But you have to, at a minimum, build this foundation up because you have a lot to work with next season. You have a lot to figure out next season, and you have a lot of room to figure those things out. This season is all about building a foundation. I'm going to be real with you, right? While I think the Bears can win 9 games, while I think the Bears can do more, I also look at this Bears team and say, if Justin Fields is moving in the right direction, if this offensive line looks like it's making the right calls and the talent just isn't there, I don't care. Because I want to see growth. I want to see the Bears win. I hope the Bears win every game. I hope they surprise us. They go 17-0. I want to see them beat the Bills. I want to see them beat the Packers. I want to see them beat the, well, I think we can beat the Niners. But I want to see this team win games. But at a minimum, right, that this is 1 year of a long process. And Ryan Poles gets that. This is the foundation time. That's why you go out there and you take chances. This is the time. You're not going to have a lot of time in your NFL career to take a ton of chances, right? Usually GMs that take a ton of chances, you get Ryan Pace a lot, right? You get paced a lot. Ryan Pace was the guy that took chances. How'd that work out for him? Right? He's no longer here. And the chances turned into players that couldn't play. But you're talking about now, building the foundation right now. Taking chances on guys right now. Alex Leatherwood, let's go take a chance right now. Let's see if he can play right now. 23-year-old Braxton Jones, hope he pans out right now. This is the time to do that. Tevin Jenkins, let's see what he has moving forward right now. Because if this Bears team does get to a point when they're good, then you're looking at this team and saying, hey, bro, you taking a chance on a what? Hey, man, I don't want to see you go do that. We need this thing to help us win in the playoffs right now. Right? So now's the time where you can take the chance. At the beginning, he can call it a retool all he wants. It's a rebuild. He can call it a retool all he wants. It's a rebuild. And in rebuilds, you get the opportunity to see, does this guy have something that I can see? And that's what I feel like the Bears did with today's waiver wire moves, man. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. As always, man, it's your boy, Pat the Designer. I'm going to cut it short today because I have to get some food in my stomach. And I have to also... what's that thing I got to do? I got to call the Sky game at 7 o'clock and got to do Locked On NBA tonight. So busy day. Wednesdays are always my busy days. Update on when we'll be doing the show moving forward, though. We're going to try and pick a set time again to set the show up every single day, especially during the season, right? The daily show. You're going to get this lovely face. It's not going to be 2 hours. It'll just be probably about an hour. So we're going to set that time up. We're talking about getting that done right now. We're also going to be adding back in a specific podcast with everybody on it that you guys love so that we can get everybody in here to talk about the Bears and stuff like that. But that's going to be a once a week thing. But we got a lot of things in the works for you guys. We're trying to make sure that everybody's able to be accommodated, especially you guys, the listeners, because we appreciate you so much, man. Like I said, I ran into Clay in Walgreens today. It was, I mean, he saw me and he was just like, hey, man, you do the YouTube show, man. Shout out to you. I'm flabbergasted that y'all listen to me every day. So shout out to you guys for showing so much love, man. This will be up on all DSPs. So make sure if you want to listen to the podcast, you tune in and listen to the podcast as well. And hey, man, appreciate you guys for tuning in and rocking with us. As always, it's your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again to continue watching our Chicago Bears content. Click the links in the description below, or make sure you check the videos that drop on the community or on the regular page. If you guys haven't hit that notification bell, hit that notification bell, man, so you can get notified every time we drop a video. Because if there's news in Chicago, your boy's gonna be there, man. Let me get them bird downs in the chat. Let me drop them bird downs in the chat, because we've all been here for the clown show that was Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. We've been here for the struggles that was John Fox. We've been here through the old Mark Trestmans. We've been here through Smokin' Jay. We've been here through terrible offensive lines, good defenses, great defenses, Hall of Famers, Hall of Suckers, all that and more. Appreciate you guys for showing love. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Peace.